the plan is very exciting because instead of us, this time we are changing, seats. So you will be on the dais and you will be presenting your ideas, and we get to listen to all these new ideas, which I'm sure are very interesting, very innovative, and let's get to hear that. So do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, we will be providing feedback, and hopefully you guys will be very happy to receive critical feedback, and we will see how it goes.
Okay, so we want to invite the first group. Yeah.
Yes.
You want to do first? Okay. Yeah. So we have Tamanna and Kajal, JNU's former JNU students and also actually current JNU students, and they want to come and attend. And we'll So we'll also be giving you some grades and let. क्या आपके इसमें चार्ज नहीं है? चार्ज है. Okay. Yeah, Kajal, you can have the mic.
I am going to be taking notes because I'm sure that several of these ideas are going to be good.
Yeah, I'll also take notes.
Let's see whether we can.
ये माइक आप हाथ में पकड़ेगा?
तो फिर ये वाला भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं. स्टार्ट क्यों नहीं दिखाना? क्या क्या वो तो दो, मुझे पता ही नहीं है. कैसे करते?
No, but if some presentation is ready, then they can go. आपका क्या problem है?
मैम सर ये कनेक्ट क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? स्क्रीन शेयर क्यों नहीं हो रहा है?
पीछे गए सर कनेक्ट तो हो गया, हमारा इधर आ गया, ये ऑन नहीं हुआ. हाँ हो जाएगा 2 मिनट.
स्लाइड में जाओ, प्रेजेंट वाला करो.
Okay, so let us know who are in this group. Just 2 of you.
No, ma'am. Amashika, Sanskriti. So we had thought about 3 topics, and we thought that we would present back to back 3 topics. So they had also helped me.
So Amashika and
Sanskriti, Khushi, and Diya.
Yes,
You school बुला लेते हैं ना stage.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
can join there.
Yeah,
You guys can come.
Join there because then everybody should be able to
Yeah,
see you
yeah.
guys on.
Khushi, you can also
उसका
come.
नाम क्या है? सौरभ.
Join
Ajay.
them quickly.
Ajay?
Start.
So,
Because there's
so we will be presenting about our idea on publishing industries, of a policy for publishing industry. So when we read books, sometimes when we buy books, sometimes we face some choices. So I have the title is Reader's Dilemma. We have constructed a DCE on the purchasing decision of books. So the motivation for this study is, since the publication industry, they have a significant environmental footprint as they use papers and they use energy in printing and also the transportation costs. The industry may aim to adopt climate-friendly practices to achieve carbon neutrality. They can invest in digital platforms and they can also invest in subscription-based e-reading services. They can also encourage second-hand book sales and streamline supply chains to lower their emissions. And they can also promote eco-friendly printing processes. But as ma'am had mentioned in her previous study, that if one is going to implement a policy, then someone should adopt that policy as well. There should be takers. Before implementing these climate-friendly policies, then the publishing industry may want to assess whether the young readers, they are ready to adopt the green consumption practices, or whether they are going to adopt the green consumers. We want to assess whether they are green consumers. And what is green consumerism? Green consumerism is a pro-environment consumption behavior to reduce the pressure of resources and environment, including the field of personal behavior, such as purchases of recyclable products, taking into account the interests of both individual and society. Now, our objective for this study is to employ a DCE to have a clear view about consumer preference for sustainable book formats like digital books, which includes both audiobooks and ebooks, and used books over printed copies. So our goal is to understand the trade-offs between substitutability, affordability, and also exclusivity. Whether the book is a standard edition, and because of this, a consumer wants to purchase that book. So one of our goals is to assess if emotional or social apples like climate change, climate nudge, are more effective than factual certifications. Like if we give them a sustainable level, this is FSC certified or things like that, to inform the publishing industry policies. So our target population for this experiment will focus on individuals aged between 13 to 40, and we assume that they can read and they have some kind of familiarity for digital books. Testing environment, we can test this experiment in universities, colleges, or in local bookstores as well. So the alternatives here are printed books, which are traditional paper-based books, and used books and digital books, which includes both ebooks and audiobooks. And we will survey, like a stated choice-based survey will be designed where respondents will be presented with multiple hypothetical purchasing scenarios. Here we have shown just one choice set. These are the attributes and levels of my DCE. So price is one of the attributes. It's a percentage in percentage terms, but in terms of discount. So if the MRP from discount from the MRP, the levels are 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. There are 5 levels. And I've also taken the attribute condition of book, whether the book is new, like new, good, or acceptable. And edition, this attribute incorporates exclusivity. Whether the book a consumer is choosing to purchase, whether it's a standard edition or a limited edition or collector's edition. And then some sort of sustainability level, whether the book is FSC certified or used 100% recycled papers. These are some labels. And climate nudge, these are 2 messages that we might include in our study, like by choosing this, you save 3 trees and reduce paper waste. We'll just give them a message. Or the second message could be, by choosing this, you can reduce your carbon footprint by X gram or Y gram, whatever. This is the example of a choice set, and you can see the trade-offs. So if we compare used books and printed copy, we can assess whether emotional or social appeals are more effective, used books and printed copies. We can assess whether emotional or social appeals are more effective than factual certifications. Factual certifications entails sustainability label. A person may show preference for exclusivity over affordability and sustainability by choosing alternative 3, because alternative 3 has this edition, limited edition, where alternative 1 and 2 has standard editions. So if they choose alternative 3 despite being the less in discount, due to this its limited edition factor, one might choose the third alternative. And discounts on digital books and used books are comparable. As you can see, in digital books there is 30% off, and in case of used books 30% off, and for digital books 40% off. So the price is nearly comparable, but here the consumers state their preferences toward a particular type of climate policy that the publishing industry may undertake. They can take sustainability label or climate change. What policy should they implement? Which policy is more effective? Whether sustainability level is more effective than climate nudge, or whether climate nudge is more effective than sustainability level. So there is a trade-off between these two, used books and digital books. So that's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions from the audience? I really like it. I think that we are onto something interesting and important, because that this kind of speeches experiment can inform potentially even libraries,
Yes, sir.
right? Like what is going to be the demand for printed versus digital books. Something very specific, your status quo will be a printed book, but I will say that the price discount should be 0.
Yes.
Thank you. The price discount should be 0 because you basically want to tell the person, well, imagine that you are going to buy a regular book that is printed, that of course is not in any kind of a special edition, so that they don't have an attachment to the status quo, doesn't have label, so it's not particularly sustainable, and it doesn't have any discount. So that basically what you're testing is, well, if I give you discounts, will you move to the digital or will you move to the used books? And then when you present the scenario, you say, well, look, you've seen today new books has this footprint, moving towards digital and used books may have some potential positive impact. So pick between a printed book or digital or used book. That will be.
Basically, sir, you were telling us that we can put a negative nudge here.
Well, the status quo in itself should not be should reflect as much as possible the current average status quo.
Okay.
Sir wants us not to add the limited edition factor.
Exactly.
And also we should remove the 10%
Exactly.
factor, right?
Because otherwise you are nudging them into the status quo.
But
You kind
I-
of want them to move from the status quo.
But I wanted to make it clear that exclusivity, due to their attachment to exclusivity, they might choose that one. Like, I had initially thought that I would give 3 alternatives and
Uh-huh.
1 status quo, but I didn't do that because that would be like too many
Sure.
attributes and too
Yeah,
much.
so in that case what happens is you can use the limited edition in the other two, but
In
not
one
in
of
the
these.
status quo. Of course there are the status quo that are limited edition, but at the same time, what you want to do is based in comparison to an average. Like the status quo limited edition, that is in a different market, right? It's and new is a good idea. That is new. But the limited edition, you could use it in the other two. So keep standard limited edition, and you can use it either in use or in digital. You could make it also. That's how you can say, oh, I can move people from a printed book if I offer them a limited edition digital book that they can brag about.
Yes.
Right? That is how you will interpret it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Questions?
Yeah, there should be more, like interactive things. So just,
Yeah, don't feel afraid of.
it's a discussion. So I like to add that if there is an attribute for which we don't have a level, how do we handle that? Because condition of a book is something for which we don't have a level,
Oh, in the digital
Yeah.
book. I didn't realize of that.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering that can we include attributes for which we don't really have a level for one of the alternatives. What does that do to the design? I mean, is it possible to even include that attribute?
I didn't realize that. Right now, I don't have a quick reaction, but probably what will have to happen is that's a very good point, Sangeeta.
Yeah, so one will have to think a little bit more whether that can be done or not done, because I can't even use 0 because it's not that as it is 0 and others are better. It's like that attribute doesn't exist for digital books.
Thank you. I think that Sangeeta has it right. Right now, with no further thinking, my recommendation will be actually to drop condition of book, because exactly you cannot say that a digital book is in good or bad condition. But basically, in that respect, what you don't really lose anything. So you just say you are about to buy a printed book that is new. Of course, the price is this, and it's a regular edition. It is not particularly sustainable. That is the status quo. Then will you consider a used book in good conditions or a digital book with the following characteristics, right? Like, it is almost a little bit too much, actually, now that I think about it, because if you are going to use a used book, you want it in good condition. You will likely not buy it in very bad condition. So the way that you will phrase it is you have to choose between the status quo, a used book in good condition, or a digital book. And then you drop that characteristic.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a very good point. Thank you.
Thank you. But otherwise, a very, very interesting,
Very good.
thought, how to reduce carbon footprint. And we talk about transport, energy, but even books, it's like lifestyle or behavioral pattern, just being aware that you can reduce carbon footprint at every step. So many things that you do in your daily life. Okay?
Very good.
Yeah, so sure. Can you just pass it on, please? Thanks.
One thing I wanted to just add for like promoting ebooks. I remember one of the authors that I like, and like I think Simon and Schuster's like publishers, they did this. People really like the feel of a book, that you should be able, like if you're reading a fictional novel, you really want to be able to keep it and cherish it and whatnot. What they did was they started doing this thing where they made this like bonus chapters that were only available if you were to buy the ebook of the book. Again, they did it so that you would buy it from their website and whatnot. It was only available, limited edition, this, that. They also had like illustrations and whatnot. That was a very interesting thing that I thought like very like out of the box for sustainability, but like something that at least fiction readers loved.
Yeah.
And that is a good way to
That's a
illustrate
good
the
point,
limited
yeah.
edition component.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, how does a limited edition component relate to digital book? But that is a good
Bonus chapters maybe. Yeah.
You could say a limited edition will be bonus chapters, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for your presentation. Actually, I was not here initially, so I don't know the idea exactly, but by looking at this table, I'm just looking at price. So it is always a good idea to connect your research with the theory. So have you studied intertemporal pricing?
Intra or inter?
Intertemporal
Yes,
pricing.
yes.
So it's a kind of theory which relates to book pricing, right? You must have studied it. So I can't see how it is related here because you are not using that theory which companies you use on the basis of willingness to pay of the consumers when they price their books.
Okay. So we have not incorporated intertemporal price thing into because here we are not targeting a particular book industry or a particular type of book. Maybe for fiction books we are doing this.
I agree, but you have mentioned new books, right?
Yeah, new books.
So when a new book is launched, usually the
Yeah.
price is very high initially.
High.
Due to the higher willingness to pay. If I am following a particular author, then I am willing to pay very high price for that initially, but later I might reduce it. So yeah.
But then there would be no discount.
Okay.
10% off likha hai, there would be no discount.
Okay, but you can find a way to relate it if possible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's a very good comment. So, but for this specific case, well, if you were going to write a paper, I will recommend that you provide in the background an explanation of how the prices are set. But because this is from the point of view of the consumer, actually it kind of makes sense that the status quo is completely new with no discount, exactly because of what he's saying. I mean, people will want to buy the first one, and people have a high willingness to pay. So it's okay to present it as it is, because the price that the consumer sees is the price in the label. The intertemporal pricing goes back in the mind of the industry, but not in the bag of the consumer. Okay?
But again, we are not considering newly launched books. We are considering existing books and 3 type of them, like one existing book and its printed copy, its digital book, and
Oh,
digital.
it's new. I see what you mean. It's not newly. Okay, that makes even more sense.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's give the chance to the next group.
Yeah. Next group, please come.
We probably should keep this one here. Because they have.
Actually, can we take this mic?
Yeah, take it.
Thank you.
Thank you. इसमें है क्या? हाँ, इसमें किसका? इसी में लगाना है तभी ये कनेक्ट होगा. I don't know. साथ it's there. I think we need to.
Excuse me, ये चलता कैसे है? क्या कर? चल रहा है, ठीक है.
Please tell us the group members' name.
Ma'am Archita.
Okay.
Ishita.
Manji. Manji.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. We would like to begin by extending our sincere gratitude to Professor Aidan Martinez Cruz and Professor Sangeeta Bansal for providing us this opportunity to present our DCE here. It was a pleasure learning from you people and actually applying it in our research. So we are very excited to share your findings with you today. Our presentation is titled DCE on the circular economy of clothing. So that is basically sustainable clothing methods. In a world where fast fashion dominates, we aim to explore a more suitable alternative. Through this study, we seek to understand consumer willingness in transition towards a consumer circular fashion economy, one that reduces waste and maximizes the lifespan of clothing. So first, we'll begin by understanding what the circular economy in clothing entails. The fashion industry follows a take, make, dispose model, leading to excessive waste and resource depletion. The circular economy offers a sustainable alternative by focusing on durability, reuse, and recycling. Instead of discarding clothes quickly, This model encourages designing long-lasting garments, promoting second-hand use and efficient recycling. Through our study, we aim to understand consumer willingness to adopt sustainable fashion and the factors influencing their choices. So we'll take a look at the goal of our discrete choice experiment. So as you can see here, we have taken the reference to be purchasing a conventional cotton t-shirt. Suppose it has a base price of ₹500. So it can be worn for around 3 to 5 years and it is not very easily recyclable. It has the features of high sweat absorption and low stain resistance. And from the literature review that we have conducted, we have found that other researchers in this area have defined the Earth's code as green, which stands for completely sustainable, low environmental cost, and yellow as eco-friendly with some conventional process, which is moderate environmental cost. Orange stands for less sustainable and uses some harmful processes, which generally have a high environmental cost, and red is it needs improvement and it has a very high environmental cost. Lastly, the scenario under which the price has been determined is we have considered upper middle class people from our surroundings, and we have conducted a survey based on that. Based on our findings, we have designed 6 choice sets which are as follows.
So, before going to the choice sets, we'll first be discussing how we've decided our price range that we had already learnt in class. So we had conducted a really small survey for around 99 respondents here. 99? Yeah. So this survey is not just based on college students. I mean, we've got it filled from our parents as well, their parents. So it's like 18 plus, the focus group. And here we have taken, I also had included around 250 also for the prices. But 250 was coming out to be really nowhere because I don't think anybody would like to have a piece of cloth that's not of good quality and just low price. So we have put these prices on a graph and we can clearly see a trend line which shows monotonically decreasing demand curve, which is consistent with theory. So we have gone about with these prices, we have taken a range of prices based on the percentage of yes responses from 78.7% to around 15.1%. So these are our attributes and levels. First one being material. Here we have classified them as low, moderate and high sustainability. So under low sustainability also we have mentioned all the materials that we are including, and conventional cotton, the one we had as our baseline, comes under low sustainability. Now we have durability as to how long the clothing might be in a good position, in a good state, or the number of washes it can last. Then we have take back program. Take back program is in the sense that whether the company is willing to or has a policy of accepting the used cloth back and recycling it and making it into another one. Then we have prices, as already discussed. This has been divided into ranges. We have biodegradability, whether the product is fully biodegradable, partially, or not biodegradable at all. Then we have performance. For performance, we have just included stain resistance and sweat absorbance. Lastly, we have social network, and for social network, it just determines the percentage of influencers or friends who are preferring that product. And this is not based on a survey. This is just an assumption we've made, 30 and 60%. Moving on to the choice sets. So this is the first choice set example we've created. Here we have 2 options with different codings of green and red, totally opposite. So in this choice set, the major trade-off we see is for social network and price versus environment. So here we can see that most of the influencers and friends of the respondent are preferring the polyester clothing, and the price is 30% cheaper than the reference price. But now when we look at sustainability, what is good for the environment, that is really expensive, 80% of the reference price. But it's obviously good for the environment, it's recyclable and it's fully degradable, which compared to polyester, which is not degradable at all. So this is the trade-off that we are looking at in this choice set, which was basically social network and price versus environmental awareness. Moving on to the next one. Here we have taken moderate sustainability organic cotton with yellow earth code and low sustainability, that is nylon with red earth coding. Now in the previous choice set also we had polyester, which was low sustainability. Now the difference between these two, polyester and nylon, is the durability. Polyester is more durable and nylon is comparatively less durable, it lasts 3 to 5 years, versus polyester was 6+ years. Now this choice set presents exactly the opposite trade-offs as the previous one. Here we have social network on environmental awareness versus price. So here it shows that the influencers and the friends of the respondent are preferring something that is good for the environment. But are we willing to pay for the thing that is good for the environment and our friends are supporting, but we also have an option that is actually cheaper than the reference price? So this is the trade-off that we are presenting in this choice set. Now we move on to the further choice sets.
Okay, so in choice set 3, we see that one of the items is high sustainability, which suppose it's organic hemp. And the second item is moderate sustainability, which can be considered, suppose organic cotton. Right, so organic hemp, as we see, is a high sustainability item, which explains why it is more expensive than the other item. But if we talk about the social network, we see that even though option A is more sustainable, only 30% of the people prefer it. So the major trade-off here is environmental awareness versus social network. Moving on to choice set 4, we have option A, which is moderately sustainable and it is organic cotton. Option B here is low sustainable and it is viscose, suppose. Here we see that the trade-off is between environmental benefits, longevity, convenience versus price.
So this is the choice set 5th. In this we have considered two options. The first is of high sustainability tencel and the second is for moderate sustainability, which is organic cotton. So here we observe the major difference in both these options are of labels. If people prefer labeling here, and the prices are also very different here. The major trade-off is between the prices, the environmental awareness of people and the labels. If people give more importance to labels. The next choice set is of high sustainability tencel and the low sustainability viscose. So here we see that the durability of both these products are very different. The social network is same, but the performance on the basis of sweat absorption and stain resistance is also very different. Also the biodegradability here is different. So the major trade-off here is of environmental benefit, the durability, the people, the person's convenience of wearing that one versus of the social network and price. So the focus group that we have taken is of 18+ years, and here there is an trade-off between durability and fashion trends, which we have explicitly not mentioned anywhere, but it is always present. If we purchase an item that is highly durable, suppose we take a product of like tencel, which is 6+ years, we can wear it. But are we willing to take that item if we are not in trend with the fashion? If we cannot keep pace with the fashion trends based on how influencers these days influence us on social media? Also, there is another trade-off of environmental awareness and social network influence. If we make a choice that is environmentally beneficial, or if we take into consideration other people's preferences and the social media influencers. So, thank you.
I would also like to make a comment here. So there's one mistake that I've made. It's just that the difference is not between polyester and nylon in durability. It was between polyester, nylon. They have the same durability. Viscose has less durability. So that's what I wanted to clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Comments and questions? I have my comments and questions, so may I go first?
Yeah, please.
I really want to congratulate you. This is the type of effort, and I think that I hope that at the beginning of the week, if we were going to ask you to do this, you could have not done it. and then it's like the result of the week. So it was very good. Congratulations on getting the prizes, and I think that gives you a lot of training, right? Like, what prize should I get? So comments about the specific. Can you go back to one of your choice sets? I will strongly recommend to drop the labels on the top, unless we really were working to design it with labels. I will keep it without that, just option A and option B. Option C has to have a little bit more of a description there. You gave it, but you have to remind the respondent every time in the choice set what you are talking about by the status quo. Yesterday, I think we discussed that, or you mentioned, we already have more than
6, 7.
Yeah, here's 7. And honestly, this is a good kind of a practical recommendation. Here, I am on the verge to say, I mean, of course, you have to pilot it and everything, but the illustrations make this exercise very easy. So I will not right away tell you to not keep it like that. You need to pilot it, and then you will realize whether it is too much. But at a first glance, because the illustrations are kind of, you don't have to read too much, right? Like recyclability, and they make sense. Probably a font and a little bit bigger, but the illustrations make sense. It doesn't require too much cognitive work from the respondent. So I am on the verge. Maybe it could be put in the field, yeah, because you did a very good job with the illustrations. Durability, I really like it. This one I was discussing with a student that with a postdoc that then didn't put the discrete choice experiment, but I have my doubts, and you did it well. It's 40 to 70 washes or 3 to 5 years. That will be probably of all the attributes that you have, the one that I will recommend the most focus groups and the most testing. How does your population measure durability? Because you got it right, it could be in washes or it could be in years, but they don't really relate one-on-one, right? Because here is the thing, if you like something a lot, you probably are going to wash it a lot more because every other week you are using it, right? So do you use it in washes? Probably. But then if you don't use it that much, I mean, it can be very much durable through 3 to 5 years. So of all these, the one that, from my point of view, becomes very tricky to put in a discrete choice experiment is durability. Think about it, and of course you are keeping it on a t-shirt, and that's good because then that is more relatable, but definitely we'll need to go through several interviews to ask people, how do you measure, how will it make sense to you? Other than that, I think that we are ready to go. Let's start implementing it tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'll also just congratulate you guys, the amount of effort that has gone in and the way it's come out with illustrations, and it really looks like a discrete choice experiment. So yeah, so that really reflects your interest and how much you've been able to absorb from this course, and not only that, you've been able to just implement it. So that's like all these that you're going to present, that is a measure of the success of the course, and I'm really glad to see that. And in terms of comments, yes, I think that comment is really good, that maybe we don't need that label on the top, because everything you have is like kind of an attribute of green. But what I'm just thinking is that maybe there is collinearity between these attributes, and we did talk about orthogonal design, and maybe that's a little difficult to get it in the first attempt. But if things are collinear, then you'll not be able to get the trade-offs. So if more sustainable is always more expensive, so maybe you created these choice sets by varying one attribute, level of one attribute at a time. But when you have a design, then it will be like every level being matched with every other. That's a full factorial design, and then we reduce it. So we need to break the collinearity, and we need to bring in, only then you'll be able to capture the trade-offs. Do you want to add to that collinearity thing?
Yeah, well, I think that what I like from the explanation that you provided was that, and I will recommend that everyone tries to do this exercise before you go into the full design. You did something that honestly provides a lot of intuition, right? They try to explain us what trade-off is reflected in each of the choice sets. So that is very important, that you are like, oh, well, I am trying to trade off environment versus price, network versus, and then once you get it, as you do, then we have to do the full factorial design and elaborate, but then you already have the intuition. Something that I forgot to mention at the beginning is that actually, by the end, something that you have here is something cool. Remember that yesterday I tried to make the point that by the end of your descriptions experiment, you should have an idea of what will be a contract that you want to estimate willingness to pay for. And you know which one will be in this case? I am not sure that you realize. You could estimate how much people are willing to pay for sustainable fashion, right? Because you are saying you have trade-offs between short fashion and sustainability. But if we phrase social network, maybe instead of social network, maybe we say, what if it is used by the influencers that you follow in social media? And that one, when we do the willingness to pay, we say, what if it's highly sustainable? What if it is very durable? What if it's very biodegradable? Whether blah, blah, blah. And my influencer of my preference also is using it. That will be fashion, and that will be sustainable. How much are people willing to pay to use something that is fashionable and sustainable at the same time? It could come from here. So it will be cool. Thank you. Thank you to you. Yes, questions?
With respect to performance and durability, would there not be a collinearity? With respect to performance and durability, would there not be a collinearity in this?
In the regular market, yes. But by designing the discrete choice experiment, no. If you design it in a way that doesn't have the collinearity, you could have something that is durable, and at the same time it doesn't have good performance.
But let's say we are talking about sweat absorption and all, right? So, that will make the cloth, let's say, more less durable, right?
Yeah.
So, in that ways, if we take both of them, that will ultimately...
Yeah, part of the trick part, and this is very important to always remember, is in the real market, that is what happens. In our hypothetical market, we are living in this universe where some of the combinations are presented, and people assume that there could be the possibility that that type of good is out there. But in reality, it's very unlikely. But that's the good thing at the same time of a discrete choice experiment, that you can present goods that will never be in the market. And that's how you break collinearity. Thank you. We have to leave right now for a few minutes.
But they can, discussion can continue. Professor Hamina will continue the discussion.
Oh, okay.
And then she can announce break for tea. So, Samina, आप उनको भी announce कर देना online वालों को.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So you have completed your presentation? Yes. Okay. So is there any more discussion on this to go on, or you want to? Yeah.
Yeah, take this mic so that you are also captured.
Like right now, it's completely based on people choosing fabrics over anything else. The truth is, if you go to any store today, you don't really look at the fabric. Like if you were to go to any fast fashion chain today, H&M, Zara, whatever you go to, it's not the fabric that most of them are using is actually quite terrible, and that's not a decision that people are making. Like, it's all on design, it's all on what most of these brands are carrying now. Even if you were to go for like a little bit of like mid-level luxury type brands, like, I don't know, Calvin Klein Diesel or something like that, they do the same thing too. So like, do you think there's like a different sort of, like, when you talk about your policy consequentiality of these things, are you looking at like these labels themselves trying to change the fabrics that they use instead of maybe what consumers would buy? Because I don't think consumers really look at fabric anymore.
I would say design could be an important attribute in this, but I would not exactly agree with they do not look at the cloth or the material anymore, because I think material is an important part. There are many people who prefer cotton, just cotton. They won't like nylon or polyester just because of how it is. Like, I have seen a lot of people who just don't want to buy, I don't want to buy this, I want to buy this material, even if it's this design, because it's possible to get a good design in cotton, it's possible to get a good design in other materials. But that's surely a very good point, that design is very important, but I do not think that we can entirely drop the material factor in this experiment.